Bye. Thank
All
you.
right. Cheers, Jackie. All right. And I think we should keep that applause going. And we've got a poem from Owen soon. Here's Paul Rees, everybody.
Bon dia.
Hola, bon dia. Let's let that applause die down. It was rapturous for you this morning, Paul, after your excellent debut last month. You're back again with us, and I'm so pleased.
I am. Good. Great to be back. Great to be back.
I trust you enjoyed yourself. Have you been stopped in the street yet for your autograph?
Not for my autograph, no.
Oh. Have you been soft kidnapped lately by a Portuguese?
Well, I was thinking the idea of soft kidnapping a mother-in-law. Yeah, we're going on a trip. We're going on a trip, dear.
Oh, I love a road trip.
Yeah, Alentejo. It's nice this time of year.
Very good. All right. We've got comments coming in, and I'm sure there'll be questions for you. Let's recap a little bit. You're a bit of a legend, aren't you, in the property scene here in Portugal, doing reports for people, assessments, and dabbling a little bit yourself in development, as I recall.
Yeah, it sort of mutated from the report stuff was during COVID when people couldn't fly in and out, which I set up a scheme with Pure Portugal to service their customers largely. Which is quite fun. So it was dealing as much as one could then with cameras and getting zoning and planning permission, viabilidades and stuff like that. Yeah. That was quite useful. But no, in 2019, I set up a proper business to buy, develop and sell old properties.
Right. So and how's that going right now? Is there anything that the political parties are saying that interests you?
No, the Alojamento Local, all the Mais Habitação stuff, because I'm rural, didn't affect.
Very good. Okay.
Which is great. Yeah. You read in Lisbon that people are kicking out of AL into longer term rental.
Yeah.
That's not really happening around here either. It's no, I mean the government's fiddle and it's annoying. I think the NHR will have an effect because that's generally people coming into the country, non-habitual residency. That's annoying and impactful, but a lot of people are coming anyway, as they always have.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Yeah, so golden visa is not really my bag, man. That was more Lisbon and Algarve. Okay. So it's just simple. We buy old buildings, village properties, town centres, some lovely historic properties in historic zones, do them up and sell them to whoever wants to buy. So it's that business is growing because of the people wanting to move to countryside and towns in countryside rather than.
I just love that.
Well, people can't afford the Algarve and Lisbon now.
Isn't that interesting? So it's not just about the rural idyll; it's more bang for your buck. But
yeah, absolutely.
Coincidentally, they are being introduced, and the Portuguese interior is being discovered as a result. Is that fair to say?
I think the economics is a lot to do with it. I was talking to an American couple who'd planned their retirement here 4 years ago, had set aside a certain amount to buy a 3-bedroom apartment in the Algarve.
Yeah.
When they turned up and realized things had doubled in price, they went, oh. Yeah. And for that money, bought a 5-bedroom house with land in the countryside with money to spare. So I know what I'd prefer, but some people are fixated with beach and sunshine, and have worked long and hard to retirement, often dreaming of a sun-kissed retirement. And you've just got to pay for it, and it leaves you less disposable income, as they say.
Well, that's very interesting. And I'm a big fan of Central Portugal, and that's why I moved here in the first place, with this idea that I'd be out in the middle of nowhere. Didn't work out like that, funnily enough, and that's often the way, isn't it? I'm sure you meet people all the time whose plans change when they come to Portugal. Yeah. But I still have whether it's for me personally or not, I have a real longing or urge to have Portugal's interior be celebrated, and to not go the same way as you hear of these Greek and Italian and Spanish villages that are just deserted and desertified and lost forever. And it might be the timeline of Portugal, the specific quirks of its history and how it relates to the rest of the world might mean that this rural experience of Portugal we can reverse the trend in a way, and people will move and repopulate and regenerate the countryside of Portugal. And what a wonderful thing that would be.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's happening. It's a bit like the shoal of fish. You know, one fish moves thinking it's making its own decision, and actually the whole shoal moves in exactly the same moment. And it's very similar. It's thousands of individual decisions. I think what holds up many people's ability to go rural is the lack of supply, which is the market I'm in is trying to increase that supply in a small way.
Yeah.
And that's to do with families hoarding properties. It's to do with insane paperwork that's never been updated, so that properties are actually unsaleable under current regulations, and owners that are unidentifiable.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you see it all over. There's still buildings in the Algarve, I remember from the 80s, thinking, oh, that would make such a lovely site for a new house. And it's still there, and it's owned by 55 different people, all of whom are still arguing. And it is a bit of an insanity. I think in the south, you also get properties that are under, how can I put it politely, legal dispute, inheritance dispute, that have no imminent chance of being resolved. But I found in the countryside, if I find somewhere that I think is attractive, that just driving around, it's fairly easy to find out who owns it, what the situation is, whether there's a deal to be done. And quite often the door's open if you're pleasant and earnest in your intent. The doors will open. And I think certainly locally, there's a lot of people now know what I'm doing. So I do get approached in the street by people saying, "No, my third cousin's auntie's house might be for sale. Do you want to have a look?" Something that you'll never see on an estate agent's sign. So
you're like this sort of real estate man from Del Monte, aren't you? Do you?
Yeah.
He wants to buy the house. It's that guy, and he's.
Well, I've got to say no a lot, which is there's a skill to that as well.
Yeah.
But actually, the paperwork side, to me, I mean, you see it on social media, on Facebook, people going on about the paperwork and boundary disputes and this, that, and the other. I love them. Bring them on, because to me they're an opportunity. It means I can spend the time sorting stuff out between promissory and escritura. I bought one old mill house. It's quite charming, that had so many problems. I had a right of way right through the front garden. It had a load of old outbuildings that had never been registered. It was a complete mess. It took 9 months to sort out. But in terms of its value, that doubled its value. Okay,
but you don't mind that. So you eat those problems for breakfast, and that
they're fine.
That goes up on the bottom line later.
Yeah, I mean, but basically, I've got some good lawyers who know the local stuff and know the notaries and the land registry and the cameras. So it's, but everything's doable. Yeah, it's man that creates rules, and man also can not circumvent them, but
uncreate.
You use them to best advantage. Let's put it that way.
Very good. Like the cut of your jib, and others do. Bon dia, says Sarah. I appreciate what you're doing, Paul. Very smart, and I'm loving the general sort of tone of this and the idea of the regeneration of Central. You're in the Algarve, I think, staying away from home last time we spoke to you. So where are you now? Where is the epicenter of this work?
I'm near the two Pedrogas, Grand and Pequeno. Yeah. So I live in a village near Pedroga, Pequeno, up in the hills. I have a view out the window of low cloud and windmills.
Yeah, I really love it over that way. We've been there, and the lovely Sunday market at Pedroga Pequeno, as I recall.
Yeah.
I bought myself a mattock there. I still got the mattock that I bought in that Sunday market.
It's famous for its mattocks, actually.
Well, I must have just intuitively known that, Paul. How's that?
Yeah.
How incredible. And just
people travel for miles.
From all over the world, right?
They do, yeah. It's a brisk mail order business, and people travel for miles.
Must be lots of them held up in customs when you see the lethal design of them.
I love it when you got little villages saying that the centre is like Guia in the Algarve, centre of Frango. And there's one
Yes.
the other week, Urik, in the centre of Black Pork, centre of Black Pig
Yeah,
centre.
why not? Why not,
Why
though?
not?
Right?
It's great. Why not? I think it's something we're famous for.
Until the EU gets onto that, we're okay. We're okay.
It's like the festivals. There's a festival for everything. You just put two completely random objects together.
Hey,
And
Preston.
yeah, it's like the one. What's the one in the southwest coast? A sweet potato and goose barnacles. I mean, it's an essential.
What a pairing! What a pairing!
What can I say?
You're not getting out of here until you've told us exactly where that is this year.
It's in. I think it's in Sagres or somewhere down there. It's
superb.
Yeah, it was quite exceptional.
Well, loving this general trend, and I hope that will be the future for Portugal. And of course, bringing together the tradition that we love and the technology that's available. A good internet connection. People have learned to work from home more recently, and the value. It's interesting. Things are always driven by economics in the end, I guess, aren't they? And it is the economics that are doing it, and taking people away from the big cities, and revealing this jewel of a lifestyle in the countryside of Portugal. So long may it continue. We've got questions and observations coming in from you, as you might expect. I tried to buy a property for a year, but there were 5 families owning it, and they couldn't agree on anything. Is there a legal laxative for that sort of thing, or is that a barge pole job with that, Paul?
It's a negotiation job. The mill I was telling you about, the first meeting at the lawyer's office was 7 family members. Not because they owned the building, but they owned the land to the back of it, through which the right of way was. The right of access. So that took about 3 hours, and they kept looking at the lawyer, and she said, "No, talk to Senor Paul. It's not my. It's nothing to do with me. You guys need to agree." And then there was water rights. There's a stream running through it, and it went on and on. So a family that clearly weren't getting on. It was aunts and nephews and husbands and wives. By the end of it, I think through a process of exhaustion and lack of coffee and/or madroña, decided that
tools of the trade.
Yeah, decided actually it would be a good idea that Auntie Vi, could sell the old place, otherwise it will fall down and there'd be benefits. So that was.
Now that family say that man brought us together. Before we didn't speak to each other, and he got us together in an unlikely setting of a solicitor's office, and now we talk to each other again.
Yeah, well, they're probably putting poison in her tea now that she's got the money.
But you don't shy away. A bit like Stephen White says. He says, where people are running away from the fire, I'm running into it.
Yeah.
And that's so you don't fear these sort of situations. And Darren might have kind of run towards that fire as well, and sort of taken the game to the families and said, look, let's do this, and stood his ground a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not difficult. I think also the will of the camera helps, in that they're incredibly helpful, hugely positive.
Yeah.
And I talk to them a lot in the urban planning department and say, look, if I was to buy that, can I divide it up? Can I add this? Can I recategorize that? And they're just superbly helpful because they understand what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And also it helps, especially Pedroga Grand camera. I bought a big building right in the historic centre, so that all eyes are on that.
Yeah.
So I can kind of swan into the camera and get find someone to talk to. I don't make appointments anymore, which is quite a nice position to be in. But it's the little stuff, stuff that people quite rightly will be advised by their lawyer. I wouldn't buy that because it's a bit complicated. That I don't mind, because I'm not going to live in it. The clock's not ticking. I'm not paying a hotel bill, waiting to move into somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's there's one we just bought that was one old woman, but 2 cottages that had been joined together decades ago, probably in the 50s. But actually, it was 2 separate property numbers, and there was some common land at the back. So what do? You're not allowed to divide it. You're not allowed. What happens? So now we're starting work shortly. It's 2 distinct cottages, both with garden. Now, I'm not going to say how I managed to arrange that, but it is all quite legal, and you just got to know what you're doing and take good advice. I think I'm probably quite a good listener in that I can't possibly know everything, but there are people that do certain tasks day in, day out that are expert at them. So
it must be very satisfying when ultimately you pull it off and it's for sale and done and dusted. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're trying to improve quality at the moment because of this new demand, because of long-term expatriates moving from the south to the centre, which is good, but they demand, as do many foreign buyers, a degree of quality that's been not on the table in recent years. So I'm just starting to use a design company in the south that do some beautiful and exceptionally beautiful rustic interior design.
In
terms of kitchen color, materials, it's that and the other. A well-known group in the south of architects that have been working there. I've known them for 20 years, so we've now got a protocol to use their skills and their frequent and humorous visits to turn older buildings into something a bit special. From a financial point of view, great, because it pushes the price up.
Of course. But it makes something really attractive, doesn't it? It makes something attractive and different.
It does, because I'm not an interior designer. I'm not a builder. I'm not really anything. I mean, my background's marketing, but I've had various businesses over the years, and if you can get the right people, the right experts, if you like, and the design work we're now putting into, especially the larger buildings, is of exceptional quality. It's Lisbon quality.
So people who will be working with you now are really the recipients of these beautiful homes. That's the work you're doing, isn't it? You're redeveloping and they're going onto the market, and that's where people would first engage with you. Or do you help others refurbish and locate properties as well?
No, I wish I had that bandwidth, but I don't.
Okay.
It's a simple business. It's the second oldest profession. Is buy, do it up, and sell it at a profit.
Yes. Yeah.
And for that, I don't use all my own money. I'm not wealthy, so I work with independent investors who come from all over the world.
How wonderful! You're a networker, aren't you? You're working a great big switchboard, just patching everything together and making it happen.
Yeah, I guess so, because there's a lot. People want to invest in Portuguese property, but they don't want to buy a new apartment and let it. They just want to have some fun with disposable income. So they fund the purchase and renovation of properties, and we divide the profit when it's sold. It's quite simple.
Very good. Very good. Excellent stuff. And if people want to find or have a look at what's on the market from you at the moment, it's Rural Properties. That's how they can find you, right?
.com. Yeah, there's a few on there for sale. I'm working on 6 properties at the moment that we will gradually be, with this new design, we'll be putting online shortly, showing what they can look like, and hopefully then working with an end buyer to, I wouldn't say personalize totally, but to create a style that a buyer wants. So if someone wants a pink kitchen, they can have it.
Yeah.
Or certain.
You read my mind. You read my mind.
I know. Yeah.
We've only met twice, and you know me so well. Okay, so I'm putting the link to the site on the screen now. Will it be possible? Will it be possible to have a little bit of a site visit with you in the future? Can you
absolutely.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, no, I definitely encourage that.
Yeah,
I had a guy actually yesterday who's in Pakistan, potential investor, and he's coming. His golden visa has got a property in Lisbon. I've just booked him into a hotel next month up here because he wants to look around for a couple of days at projects with a view to investing his inherited some of his inherited money in a project, but wants to see what he'll be buying basically.
Great.
So that sort of trip, I'll show people around the properties I know are for sale, but more importantly, the ones I know I can make the required margin on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if we can be with you one morning like this on
That'd be
site,
great. Yeah.
that'd be wonderful. Questions coming in then. Sorry, I'm hogging you. There are other people who want to ask you things as well. I'm curious. Can you explain what your process timeline is when you notice a building for refurbishment? How do you find out who owns it, etc.? So yeah, from start to finish, what might that look like, Paul?
It's the piece of string question, really.
Yeah.
If something's going to take forever, I'll walk away from it.
Yeah.
Often I find if I walk away from something, there's a tap on my shoulder saying we can do that quicker. It's if I'm really keen on something, I'll find out who owns it.
Yeah.
And you ask a neighbor or go to the cafe and
Yes.
inquire, which is why it's good to firstly speak okay Portuguese, but secondly have the right attitude, really,
Yes.
rather than swanning in saying, "Oh, I was thinking of buying the mansion on the hill."
I say you there.
I say you there.
Who owns that house?
So I suppose there's a bit of a technique to it, but
sure.
from beginning to end, I mean, I look at a project beginning to end, including negotiating the buying at a year. If it's more than that, I can't really interest investors in in anything more than a year. Having said that, from when the investment money comes in to enable me to actually put a deposit down or buy something, to sale, if that's a year, that's fine, because people think in annual. What's the annual return on this? And that's when the money leaves someone's account and to when it goes back.
Yes.
So if I can get that in within a year, that's good.
Yeah.
Everybody reinvests. I've not had anyone drop out.
Great.
But yeah, the pre-wrangling, if you like, can be good few months, because I'm then dependent on land registry or on a camera engineer. So it's things like that add the weeks.
And typically with
building, I'm
building,
not in a hurry. Yeah, I'm not in a hurry. And
well, that's good.
if people are, sure, avoid that or get really good advice. Don't just throw it at a lawyer. There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
All a lawyer's going to do is instruct other people. So it's better if you know who to go to.
Very good. And typically with building projects, it's fits and starts, isn't it? Nothing can happen for months, and then there can be some very intense building work. A bit like when a multi-story building goes up. It's months, isn't it, in the underground car park and the foundations and the planning, and then it just seems like a few weeks when they start building the upper parts of the building, and then it might stop again because the thing goes bankrupt or whatever. So yeah, it comes and goes, doesn't it? With these sorts of things. But what a lovely moment that must be when you're what's it called? Topping out? Is that the final part of a building? The topping out ceremony, something like that?
Yeah, I think that's more on civil engineering, really, rather than fiddling around with old.
Presumably some champagne must be involved, Paul, at some point in this. Otherwise, what's the point?
Champagne? Yeah, I don't drink, so it's so
pastel de nata then outside the front.
I'll stretch to a super box saying alcohol. But,
all right, fair enough. Well,
no, but yeah, the people are happy, buyers are happy.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Okay, more comments coming in. And I mean, it was funny what you said before. You saw houses in the Algarve that are still unsold and it's a bit like our San Martino de Porto hotel here, the Park Hotel that was on fire a few weeks ago, and people have their theories about that. But so many people who come to Portugal, it's like, wow, we're going to buy that and do it up. And a lot of people in the cafe or the neighbours have told them who owns it. And it's so, Mrs. M was reminding me the other day, I used to have a thing I used to post on Facebook, doer upper of the week. So I'd be driving around central Portugal and I'd stop and I'd take a picture of a house that had the phone number painted on it very badly. And I began to realize, hold on a minute, that phone number was painted on there in the 80s.
Yeah.
it's been there all this time. So it's not quite as romantic as people imagine, is it?
No, it's not. And I laugh at the phone numbers as well. But I phoned one phone number from a cafe once, and the bloke on the table next to me, his phone went. So
that's brilliant.
It's you then. Yeah. Hello.
Excellent. There's an increasing property slump around this area due to the government's repossession of properties. They're not paying tax. That's over in Fundal, who are also a good camera, as I understand it as well, quite progressive. There is so much more available now than when we arrived 3 years ago. So they're making stuff happen by the sound of it. Guys, may I ask a bit of advice, please? I'm looking at central Portugal. I want to be in a market town where I can have a stall. I'm finding from the internet, most markets are specialized. Coimbra, maybe, says Paz Lebon. Antiques market, says Jackie, or food markets. I'm looking for an area that has more anything and everything type of system. Any ideas for towns that are best for that, guys? What would you say then if you're a market salesperson and you're a maker rather than a food producer? Where would Jackie go for that, Paul?
Well, there's a big market in Pedro Grande on the spare land. I don't know when. I'm not a great market goer, but I know if I need to buy an orange tree or a basket, that's the place to go. That's quite a big one. Yeah, it depends what they're selling. If it's artisan products, there are market that just look on Facebook. There's so many groups, but because of the nature of my business, I'm a member of most of the friends of all the towns around here, and it seems to me mostly to do with markets and things that are going on in the school and the church. So I'm sure there is a rhythm and a system behind it. It seems random to me, but I know the Pedro Grande one is quite a good size.
Yeah, there are markets all over. Oliveira do Hospital is the only one I can find that does a bit of everything on the internet. There are lots of big markets that do a lot of everything. And by the way, Heather Binder will be joining us at 9:30, so she might have some answers to this as well, Jackie. But I would say if you're a foreigner, you want to be at a market where foreigners are coming, because I think it's quite hard to penetrate a traditional Portuguese market with new things. And you'll be a bit of a curiosity. But I think, do you think it's fair to say, Paul, that people, it's quite conservative in the Portuguese traditional countryside, and people know what they want to buy, and they're not necessarily going to have their head turned by a newcomer with some fancy new things. And it might be better to be in a more of a crossover area with more foreigners.
Yeah, I do think that, sadly, but I also think that a lot of foreigners don't use, especially the sort of fruit and veg markets, don't use them enough.
Yeah, true.
I look with some disappointment if I'm ever in a supermarket at the crowd of people in the fruit and veg section buying. The only justification is to buy things that aren't available locally. But then you look at where the stuff comes from all over the world. You think, well, why do you really need that? It's
Peruvian
insane.
grapes.
Peruvian grapes. It is. Yeah, ludicrous. But actually, nearby, between Pedroga Grande and Figueira dos Vinhos, there's a farm shop run by Estrangeiros that is good at promoting itself online, and they sell all their organic stuff from the farm gate. Basically, they've got a little shop there, and that's great. And foreigners seek it out and find it, as I'm sure do local Portuguese.
Very good.
And that cuts out the middleman. But the fruit and veg markets, most of them I've been to in the last decade, there are far more. There's a lot of empty stalls, put it that way. A lot of empty slabs.
Yes, that's a sad sight, isn't it?
It is.
And to my shame, I stopped going to the market here. It was more of a timing thing, because I'm doing this every weekday morning. But I've started going to our local market again, and would urge people to do that. It's a tricky one, that, Jackie. But let's keep talking about that. We had so many boxes, says Paz Lebon, that it took us literally a year to find an ideal plot. Drive the prices up, though. Do we want that, like the UK? No. Well, that's an interesting question for you then, Paul. You will be part of this debate of the foreigners are coming over and driving up the prices of property. The alternative, I suppose, is just have lots of ruins and desertified villages and towns, isn't it?
Yeah, it's complete nonsense. Foreigners driving the prices up in rural areas. There's enough stock in rural areas to last the next 100 years.
Okay, so
if there's 50 people like me, I have absolutely no effect on the price of ruins. Yes. It's larger economic factors. It's not on the buying side. I can still buy things extremely reasonably because that's their market value. They're unwanted.
And it's unlikely, isn't it? Yeah, you're not going to be in this business to sell the ruin for the same price as you bought it for, because that's not how it works, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I spend a lot of time, effort, employ people, buy supplies, and get a property ready. Then I don't suddenly dream up a price. I find out what the market price is.
Yeah,
I can't sell it for more than a market value. So if I provide quality, and people are coming here from overseas with bigger budgets than the local shopkeeper. That's what Portugal's all about. That's what any country is about, is a mixture of people. And if somebody wants to spend $500,000 on a 17th century former hospital in the middle of a historic centre and sees that as great value for a 6-bedroom ensuite house with pool out the back, fine.
Yes.
To many people, that's going to be the cheapest deal they've ever done. It's all relative.
Yeah. And it sounds like with one of those, you're not robbing that from a young Portuguese family, are you?
No, it's completely the other end of the market. It's totally the other end.
Angry Portuguese families who you stole their opportunity to live in a dream home with a
it's nonsense. And I've never bought a property yet where someone's had to leave it.
Yeah,
they've all been empty.
Take your point. I mean, Paz Lebon, we do take your point, and it is an important conversation to have. Although we're having a bit of fun with it this morning, it is a very important conversation. I think we need to keep saying this. And these houses are sold to you by Portuguese people who you could describe as speculators. They want the best price as well. They're not saying, just give us half because we don't want to drive up the prices around here, do they?
Exactly. I make a lot of people very happy. Yeah. Houses that have been sat in families for 50, 60, 100 years. Yeah. I bought 2 properties. There's no record of any previous sale. So they've been in that family, and then they've sat there empty for 40, 50 years. I bought in Portugal Pequeno recently that the youngest newspaper I found was 1964. So if you say, and so that was the last sign of life there. And talking to the neighbours, that family left in the 60s or before the revolution. So let's say 1970. That's well over 50 years.
And what I hear from neighbours, where I know people who are buying up properties. Heather joining us in a couple of minutes. Sorry to keep you, Heather. We'll just finish off with Paul here. What I hear from people who buy properties and renovate them with local neighbours is that local neighbours are very happy. They would rather live as long as the neighbours are nice. They would rather live with life in the neighbourhood than this festering old wreck next door down the street, right?
Full of cats.
Cat shelter. Yes.
It's appalling. Yeah. And the one I was talking about, the hole inside had to be removed because it was wood. It was absolutely falling in, leaving the 4 walls. It's being reconstructed. The neighbour adjoining it, it's a party wall, is absolutely delighted.
I'm sure
doesn't matter about the noise, doesn't matter about the team playing their radio all of Saturday quite loud.
Life in the neighbourhood.
Really delighted. Absolutely delighted.
Very good. One more question for you, Paul. Always great fun talking to you. We're looking forward to seeing you next month and maybe on site. That was the website address there, rural-properties.com. And one final question then. Are you looking for additional investors?
Always. Yeah, I spend a lot of time talking to potential investors, and the ones I've got, I love. They all reinvest. But there's plenty of room. There's plenty of property out there.
All right. Well, then, can I make an invitation to you? On a Tuesday evening, apart from last night, because it was Carnival, on a Tuesday evening, we have our Portugal Club meeting, which is our mastermind group of the Good Morning Portugal show. Could you come along and join us one Tuesday evening, and people can quiz you a little bit more about the investment opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely.
Superb. Excellent stuff. Okay, we'll do that then, 8 o'clock one Tuesday evening, and I'm sure João Denot will be happy to be there. Great fun talking to you and very informative as ever. Have fun up there between the Pedregals.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers, Paul. All right, mate. Take care and bye for now. Wow, always great fun talking to Paul. Let's keep that applause going because we've kept her waiting long enough. Heather Binder, everybody. How are you?
Great. How are you this morning?
Good to see. I'm very well, thank you, Heather. Yeah, good to see you. You occasionally come along to our Portugal Club evening, but we decided to take the night off last night, didn't we? Because it's Carnival. Have you been celebrating Portuguese in the last? How long is it? 5 days now.
I would love to say yes, but I've been doing visas.
Oh, bless you.